Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another Inside Lowell podcast. I'm your host, Teddy Panos, coming here from the WellPoint Studios here in downtown Lowell, and we are excited today to be joined by one of the candidates seeking a seat on the Lowell City Council, the District 3 seat, aka the Belvidere neighborhood seat, probably the most visible one. If you, we know all the districts matter, but boy, Belvidere does get an awful lot of attention, and it is this campaign season. 4 declared candidates. One of them is here in studio with us right now, Erin Gendron. Erin, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I listen to your show a lot. I'm excited to be here.
You poor thing. Even though you listen, you're still excited, huh?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
All right. Well, we're glad to have you here. We want to talk a little bit about you, your background, and your candidacy, and what issues are central to you. So we're going to get right to that discussion with Erin in a quick second. Let me just thank our Inside Lowell sponsors here, our podcast sponsors. Of course, it starts with our friends at WellPoint. We are here in the WellPoint Studios. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. Thanks as well to Washington Savings Bank, banking that goes the extra mile. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. TMI Properties, quality and value at every price point. Find your perfect space with TMI. Mahoney Oil, providing warmth and protection to Greater Lowell, Southern New Hampshire since 1925. The Greater Lowell Community Foundation, improving the quality of life in Greater Lowell through strategic, impactful philanthropy. Francis E. Preventure Insurance, the agency Greater Lowell has counted on since 1982 to protect its most valuable assets. Ray Booten, licensed realtor in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, certified appraiser in both of those states as well. Find him online at realestaterayBooten.com. And by the Massachusetts Pirates, bringing all the hard-hitting action and excitement of arena football to the Mill City Pirates. Got rid of their head coach, got a new head coach coming in. A guy brings in quite a resume. Pirates mean business for the rest of this season. Check out that story. It's on InsideLowell.com along with the rest of our content. But right now, let's create some more content that we can add to InsideLowell.com. Erin Gendron is here. So I'm going to ask you the same question, Erin, that every candidate, first-time candidate here in the city of Lowell gets to answer. Who are you? Why are you running for city council?
Sure. So I'm Erin Gendron. I'm running for the District 3 seat in Belvidere for city council. I was raised by humble means. I grew up in a triple-decker with my parents, my sister, and my extended family. I watched my father. He's the hardest working person I ever met. He's a Vietnam veteran. He became a union truck driver. And one of the things he always said to me, because we kind of grew up and he saved all of his money to buy their first home. And he always said, education, education, education. That's what will lead you to a better life. It's my education that brought me to the city of Lowell. I'm a very proud Riverhawk. I went to UMass Lowell for psychology. I later got my license in social work. My career kind of planted me and rooted me in Lowell. I was a elder services social worker, helping elders to age safely in their homes. I took that experience to the Department of Children and Families, where I got very unique experience. I was placed in an adolescent specialty unit where we worked with adolescents who found themselves both in the custody and care of the department, but also in dealing with the criminal justice system. Lowell is my home. It's where I met my husband. It's where we got married, and it's where we're choosing to raise our 2 boys. I'm running because I want to make sure that Lowell is always a city that my boys will be proud of. And I believe that I bring a unique perspective to the council. All
right. And for folks wondering about the last name, most of the people who follow this know, but the name Gendron, you are the daughter-in-law of former school committee member and prior to that, former city councilor Steve Gendron, right?
Yes. Yep.
But this is your first run for political office, right?
It is.
Even no class president in like kindergarten or anything?
Well, I'm on the Board of Health, but so I'm, in government, but this is the first political run, yeah.
All right. But you have, as you mentioned, you have been serving the city with the Board of Health. So what about your background do you think has prepared you, and what will help you as if you are lucky enough to be elected, and you can, what in that background will kind of help you, guide you in your policy making?
Sure. So on the Board of Health, I started right in the middle of COVID. So the first 2 years were
lucky you
kind of lit my feet on fire, right? It was just, I don't know what the saying is that they say, that like thrown into the deep end,
Yeah,
right?
they sure did.
So that was the focus of our first 2 years, but I'm very proud to be on the Board of Health. I think that we're a board that listens to our residents, but also holds people accountable. Our tobacco control officer, and so we bring, if somebody violates a tobacco law, if they're selling to minors, our board is very consistent with not in our city. Nope. You know the rules, no, and that's it. We also listen to residents. We're trying to move Lowell forward. So we had a couple residents that came in. So they were living in the city, owned a business in the city, and were traveling to Austin to do part of their business because Lowell didn't have a policy around. They have a salon. And they wanted to add microblading. So we worked with the residents to change the policy to say, all right, like we'll do the legwork, we'll figure it out. And we'll change the policy. And we did. And so now those people can live, own a business, and work in Lowell. And I think that that's very important. We also have looked at some major, Megan's house brought us something and said, hey, we're seeing this substance being used in our city and in our group homes.
The now famous Kratom, right?
That's right. Yeah. So we worked with the city council and we worked with our tobacco control officer to ban it in the city, and it's now moved to a couple other cities have joined, and there's a bill in Congress and the Senate for it. So I think that combined with being able to navigate resources, social workers have to be a jack of all trades. So my work as a social worker, I've been able to know what the resources are and also navigate difficult systems.
It's interesting. The Board of Health background, and you mentioned COVID. Up until that point, if you were in the food industry, you knew of the Board of Health. But I don't think people understood how important boards of health were until maybe COVID and whatnot. It was interesting to me that the Lowell Board of Health, it kind of went along with the accepted guidelines at the time, and I was a vocal critic of those, but I did have to credit the city of Lowell and specifically the Board of Health in Lowell, that you folks, it was a conscious decision, right, to kind of do what the governor recommended or the State Department of Public Health, and not go even more overboard, my word, as a lot of communities went like really extreme, and Lowell caught some heat for kind of staying in the middle lane on that. How difficult was that time, and how difficult were those decisions for you to make?
Well, I think it's all about balance. I mean, it wasn't easy, but you have to let people make decisions for themselves. And I think that with the safety in mind and the guidelines that we got from the state, we kind of let people live their lives a little bit, you know.
I do appreciate that. Joanne Keegan probably wanted to pull her hair out or my hair on many occasions. Did she ever curse me to you?
No, never.
No, she should have. All right, so you're running, as we mentioned, for the District 3 seat. That's Belvidere, parts of South Lowell, maybe bleeds a little into downtown or the upper end of downtown, if I know my borders correctly. But what do you see as the most important issues facing the district and the city, and how different are those issues?
Sure. So I actually did I have three main things. So urban revitalization of downtown, safe and healthy neighborhoods, and health and public safety. I was doing some door knocking kind of right on the border of the end of the district on High Street. And, you know, you see a lot of a lot of 2-family houses over there, but also a lot of accessibility ramps. So as I was walking, doing all the different doors, there are tree stumps, and some of the sidewalks are just not passable. And at the end of that street is a school. The Moody School is right there. So it was kind of like, wow, this little area feels like it was a little forgotten about. And because they cut down the trees, but then the stumps are there. And that's just, I think that our neighborhoods need to be walkable and need to be safe and ADA accessible. I think the city's doing a great job with the potholes. We just have more work to do. So keeping our neighborhoods safe and comfortable. For downtown revitalization, I think that the Link project is going to be one of the best things since the national park. It's going to bring us housing, it's going to bring good jobs, and it's going to bring tax revenue. And those are huge things that our city needs. I believe that the city manager has built a great relationship with UMass Lowell that is needed, because Lowell needs to be at the table for that. We need to be able to make sure that the infrastructure we have is going to push this project forward, because it's so important for the city. I think that a BID district is not talked about enough, and something that could really, really help us. In psychology, there's a theory called the broken window theory. And what that means is that when things are disorganized, in disarray, or any neglect, it kind of welcomes crime and vagrancy. But to counteract that, I think the BID district is a great thing that can move us forward, because if you're doing small beautification projects, it's more welcoming and inviting to residents and guests, and that kind of counteracts the broken window theory. So I think we need to get the property owners to buy in with us, and that's the task of the city, but I think it would really, really help downtown. And then to support public safety, I'm on the Board of Public Health. I think that homelessness is a big issue, and Lowell has been holding the bag of funding and services for the region, and I think it's a regional issue, and we need regional help to support it.
All right. You mentioned the BID district, Business Improvement District.
Yes.
I happen to sit on the steering committee for some unknown reason, but one of the things that we talk about as we're getting closer and closer to getting that approved and launching it is the potential for it spreading out to other districts and others. So, there's a vibrant business district, Route 38, right? Up in your neighborhood, Belvidere, Bridge Street in Centerville, Westford Street in the Highlands. There's talk about, if it works well in downtown, seeing if that's something possible. Would you support that in the Belvidere district?
Yeah, I think that anything that helps to beautify and be attractive and inviting and welcoming to both guests and residents is something that's going to help the whole city.
All right. You mentioned the relationship with UMass Lowell and the Link project. Yeah. There was a time where I felt like there was more opposition to the university. I feel the tide has turned, but there's still pockets in the city who will tell you, look, the university's taking too much land, it's become too big, and it's taking it off the tax rolls. How do you see the relationship going forward? Is it in a right balance? Does the city need to do more with the university, or does it need to distance itself a little bit?
I mean, the Link project is going to bring $600 million of private funding. So that's money that will be on the tax dole. So I think that will help us. I hope that we get to kind of have a say of what retail goes in there. The model is a live-work community, and I think that's all great. But when we look at parking and things like infrastructure things, how are you going to get to the grocery store if you can't park your car, right? So if we're able to kind of pick some of the retail, like work with the retail that goes in there, Trader Joe's are made for the city. I know it's been talked about. People say there's no Trader Joe's not coming here, but if you're bringing in tax revenue like that, it's a possibility, right? So I think keeping the doors open for possibility. And I think that we have to look at the infrastructure and just so that we can support and move the project forward.
If you bring in enough wealth into the city, business, all kinds of business will follow. You mentioned housing. Let's talk about that. That's been a big discussion recently. And in the last 2 weeks, the Yes in God's Backyard Act, a lot of opposition to the state legislators who brought that forward. What do you think of the act itself and what it's seeking to accomplish? And also, what do you think? Folks have said this is highlighting the disconnect between the council and the delegation on Beacon Hill.
Sure. Well, I think that collaboration is always key, but I believe in our zoning and our planning boards. There's a reason that we have them. And when there is a state law that's made that kind of takes things out of the local government's hands, it's just, we can't blanket policy. The solution's not a blanket policy. So I believe that that's not for me.
Okay. Are there any measures that you think the city could or should undertake to improve, to ease, I should say, the housing crisis? Or do you think the housing crisis is a little bit overblown as a way to just create more housing?
That's a difficult question. I think the more that, housing costs money to build, right? So like if we just keep building, it's expensive, and then you're just trying to cover your costs. So I have to really think on that one more. I don't really have a.
Okay.
That's the answer for everyone, right?
There'll probably be 3 other housing issues that come up between now and
Sure.
election days. So a part of the housing crisis, we're told, is, well, we need to find housing for the homeless population. You're familiar with that challenge, being on the Board of Health. Does Lowell have a homeless problem, or does Lowell have a vagrancy problem in your eyes?
No, I think vagrancy, you're saying like you think we have a crime problem.
Yeah, well, are there people who just, you can create all the housing you want. There's a certain subsect of the city that's not going to want to live in that housing for whatever reason. Either mental illness makes them incapable of making that decision, or addiction has controlled them and they can't live in a house or some type of housing without breaking those rules and then ending up back on the street.
Yeah. I think it's a mix of both. I think we have a mix of both. We have people that just are down on their luck and not able to get housing, but we have co-op teams that go out and they're offering the help, and people are just not choosing not to. I mean, we see the reports. The Board of Health, like, we look at the co-op team, and we have that resource, and it's great. I mean, they're going out to the encampments and offering the services and offering the help. I think that people are choosing not to take it. So. Yeah.
There are people who say the city's not doing enough. It's not offering enough services. It hasn't created enough solutions in terms of housing. It sounds like you disagree with them.
I do. I mean, name another town close to us that has a co-op. They don't. We have the resources, and we've offered them. So, I think we have the resources. From
a public health perspective, and this is really more to educate me and others, I feel, maybe not so much as a candidate, but what are the dangers? I think a lot of the folks in the public discount the public health dangers of some of these camps that are set up and the conditions that people are living in and how quickly they can spread to a community.
Sure. I have a unique perspective on this, both from the Board of Health. Also, I participated in the pit count a few times, the person and time count. We used to go out to the encampments and count, and interview. There's like interview questions that you knock on tents and kind of get them to talk to you and answer questions. And it's done. It used to be done on like the coldest day of the year in January, because it gives you a clearer picture. You can see those who are unhoused but in shelters. The coldest day, that's usually when people get to shelters. Mm-hmm. And then the people who aren't, and you're out on those cold days kind of looking. I also went out to the encampments sometimes for my job at DCF, if we had parents that's where they were, and we needed to go talk to them, or if sometimes we had kids who would go missing and they would be in those encampments. So the dangers, horrible things happen there. So imagine down by the river, right? So if that's where an encampment is, anything that's there kind of ends up in the river banks, right? So that's not healthy either. So aside from just the general chaos that can happen there and dangerous situations, there's also environmental factors.
All right. We're chatting with Erin Gendron, candidate for Lowell City Council in District 3. You're tuned into Inside Lowell, and we're hoping to give you an inside view into the candidate. A couple more things I wanted to touch on before we go. Lowell High School construction, what I term a mess. State Representative Rodney Elliott was sitting in that seat earlier this morning. We talked about this, and when asked if he thought the state could come in with more funding to deal with whatever number overrun Skanska comes in with, probably I guess about a month from now, that he doesn't think there's any more state money, but they're going to ask. The high school construction thing, was that lack of oversight, an error in judgment, or just plain bad luck that we've got a school that's already been $38 million over and now maybe heading 10, 15, 20 million over?
I mean, I think the boring holes is a problem. Like, you can't just do one for a building that was built in that time. So I think we need to look at that a little bit closer. But I think COVID plays into it. That made the cost go up for everything. And maybe a mix of all three, some bad timing, bad luck. Yeah.
Should the city pursue legal action? A couple of, at the last meeting where this came up, a couple of councilors expressed the thought that maybe we should pursue some legal action against the project manager. Would you be willing to consider that?
I mean, maybe if it makes sense, if it really is a like neglect on the part of them, then I think that makes sense. We need to get this project done and done efficiently and well. And if there was a lack of oversight on that by their part, I think there's some liability there.
All right. You mentioned economic development, revitalizing the downtown. Has the city blown the opportunity in the Hamilton Canal District to make that a center of commercial/business development?
I think we sold ourselves short a little bit, but I also understand that building costs money, and it's good that we're doing it. I think we sold ourselves short.
Okay. I think you're right. Not that that's going to help you at all in your campaign, but do you have a political idol or someone that you might pattern yourself or your style after? And you're not allowed to say your father-in-law, by the way. No brownie points allowed there.
Sure. So I'll give you a short story just of kind of how I am here today. So a 16, 17-year-old Erin driving into the city, and I remember seeing a pink and black sign with a thank you across it. And I said, Rita Mercier, wow, you don't really see a lot of women in politics. I'll have to look into that. And then I went to UMass Lowell, and I learned about Eileen Donahue and Nikki Songus and Lori Trahan, and I said, wow, Lowell really gives women a seat at the table in politics, and it makes me very proud to be a Lowellian.
So you look up to some of the local
Sure.
women who have served. All right. How can folks learn more about your campaign? I know you have a website set up. I've seen the social media stuff, but tell folks where they can learn more about you, and also if you have any upcoming fundraisers as well.
Sure. So you can learn more about my campaign on Erin-Gendron, GENDRON.com. I also am on Facebook and Instagram. And then I have a campaign kickoff party at Long Meadow Golf Club on Monday, May 5th from 6 to 8 p.m.
All right. Lots of stuff we talked about there. I'm sure there'll be a number of things that'll pop up between now and the September preliminary, which it appears your neighborhood is heading for, and then the November general election, should you be one of the top two in that as well. So, Erin Gendron, thank you for joining us today here at Inside Lowell, and good luck out there on the campaign trail.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you to Erin. Thank you for checking in as well. Hopefully you learned a little bit more about another one of the candidates vying for that seat. There are 4 candidates in that seat. By the way, I can give you a little news. The 5th candidate who had declared his candidacy last fall, Ronald DiBerto, did confirm with me yesterday that he will not seek that seat. So it looks like it is a field of 4. Of course, signatures start getting gathered in June. They're due in July, and then we move on. Primary election or preliminary election, September 9th. General election, I'm going to give you the wrong date. It's the first Tuesday in November. That much I know. I think it's the 4th. Anyway, thanks for joining us here on Inside Lowell, giving you an inside view of what's happening in our city. Till next time, everybody, enjoy the spring weather, and I'll catch you on the other side.